David, why is residential important to investors?
Andrew, it's the largest asset class that investors have not got a sensible exposure to within all of the assets that you can think of available to UK and international investors.
What is Mill Group going to do that people haven't done before to open up this market?
We are looking at a different asset sourcing strategy from the majority of PRS investment propositions, which are focused on the US multifamily large block development situation. So we are looking at more traditional smaller block and individual units and bringing a new partnership between investors and occupiers to provide the efficiency that otherwise might be available from a large block.
Residential is a huge marketplace. It's one where fundamentally there's robust occupier demand. There's always a market clearing price, there's a segmented market, and I think it's one that's too difficult to ignore. I think we need to be much more radical in terms of planning, in terms of the way we approach the market, if we're going to really develop and exploit the full-term potential of it as an investment class.
Why is residential important to you?
It's an important part of the economy and makes up a huge proportion of the property market. So as a property investor, it's an important thing to look at.
Will residential ever achieve parity to the other sectors?
I think over the next 5 to 10 years, it could well become parity as the other sectors. My priority is to make the best returns for the Tesco pension fund, and if residential can do that, then yes, it will be part of the portfolio.
Can we see a significant increase in international investment into UK residential?
First of all, coming from a statistical point of view, you can see a significant increase because the amount already invested is quite low. So doubling of international investment is nothing unusual, given the lower investment currently on the way. But I would say yes, you see more international capital coming.
Just how important are international investors to the UK residential market? Xavier?
I think they are important to the extent that they bring a different perspective on the market. And I think specifically in the UK, where your organization, you gentlemen have been organizing a conference like we had this morning, again, very interesting for the third time. You see over the course of 3 years that actually the same kind of questions pop up over and over again. And as a local in your own market, you might have this big blind spot behind you. Yeah. And everyone knows that it's there, but yeah, you can't see it. And perhaps the foreigner perhaps is the one that sees that first. He has weaknesses, but he will spot your blind spots.
Geopolitical risk. How much is that, given the current climate, a threat to UK residential investment?
It's one of those classics, isn't it? You've got a risk factor out there, but ironically it's pushing up the prices of houses in London. So in some ways, the more risk out there, the more residential is actually inflating in terms of its asset price. So if you're looking for one of those pins to pin the bubble, it may not necessarily be a rise in geopolitical risk. It might actually be that the world becomes a slightly safer place and London no longer is seen as such a safe haven.
The fundamental point of UK residential, which is it's just critically undersupplied, and that won't be resolved anytime soon. So if you add in the nature of the risk of this market, so the flight to quality from overseas capital, the fact that it's undersupplied means that it has some characteristics that you would think have longevity.
There's a range of options out there for any investor in residential. Residential is a broad church. You can do high-end development on one end to social housing at the other. You can do debt, you can do equity. We're more likely to enter the PRS sector as an equity investor. We think there's some compelling reasons, and I think there's some compelling opportunities right across the UK for a balanced investment strategy.
I think good quality, appropriate stock is always hard to find, but with the right industry knowledge and the right connections, the stock is there. It's a question of being able to source it and being able to source it at the right price. I think investors are looking for existing assets, but are finding it hard to find good quality, appropriate assets, and are therefore looking to build the stock themselves.
What do you think is the number one quality that makes a great joint venture partner for an investor?
I think experience. Experience of actually managing professional institutional quality stock.